Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo Floresiensis, Homo Luzonensis, modern humans, and potentially a newly identified species, Homo Juluensis, have all been discovered through archaeological or genetic evidence, often both, to have coexisted within the past 50,000 years, sharing the very same land our ancestors walked on. Did we meet? Did we all share common practices in hunting, tool making, and other survival skills? Did we all engage in symbolic behavior? In this video, we'll attempt to answer these questions and more about these fascinating ancient humans. The old idea that humans evolved in a single, linear progression has been proven incorrect. Instead, our evolutionary history is more like the branches of a tree, interconnected and interwoven, with multiple human species existing, interacting, and sometimes interbreeding over time. Some of the humans I'll discuss in this video didn't just share the Earth with us. They shared lineages and even families with us. This also raises an intriguing question. Are we truly separate species from them? Or are we more closely connected than some people think? On the other hand, the other humans I'll talk about would require us to trace our lineage back millions of years to find a common ancestor with them. But yet they still lived alongside us and our direct ancestors until as recently as 50,000 years ago. These ancient humans have mysterious origins and shared more physical traits with the Australopithecines of Africa, who lived over 2 million years ago, than with modern humans. Yet, despite their differences, they thrived in the same environments as us and were undeniably human. Strap in as we explore the fascinating stories of these ancient humans, our distant relatives and evolutionary companions, and uncover what their lives tell us about who we are and where we come from. Number 1. Homo Floresiensis. One of the mysterious human species I mentioned, one who is relatively far removed from us compared to other ancient humans, is Homo Floresiensis. This species lived on the island of Flores until as recently as 50,000 years ago. Stone tools dating back between 190,000 and 50,000 years ago were found at Liang Bao Cave. These tools were simple Oldowan-style tools like flakes and blades used to butcher animals. These tools are broadly similar to those found throughout the human evolutionary career. The same cave is where fossils of at least 13 individuals were unearthed. Among these discoveries was a nearly complete skeleton of a female, from which we learned about their unique features. They stood approximately 3 feet 6 inches tall, had tiny brains, about a third of the size of ours, large teeth for their small size, shrugged forward shoulders, no chins, receding foreheads, and relatively large, flat feet due to their short legs. This is what earned Homo Floresiensis the nickname the Hobbit. These traits are thought to be the result of island dwarfism, an evolutionary process that occurs when large animals, in this case humans, become isolated on islands with limited resources and few predators. Smaller beings are better able to survive because they need fewer resources and smaller territories. However, some scientists have suggested that the ancestors of Homo Floresiensis may have been small when they first reached Flores. During their time, the environment on Flores was warm, tropical, and densely forested. It was also dominated by 13 volcanoes, some of which were active. Common tree and plant species in the forests likely included figs, palms, lianas, and epiphytes. These trees and plants may have provided some edible resources for survival. Coastal regions and river estuaries likely hosted mangroves, which may have supported plants like grasses and small shrubs. The island was also home to unique animals, such as dwarf elephants, stegodons, who likely went under the same island dwarfism rule as Floresiensis, Komodo dragons, a vulture species, and giant storks and rats. Evidence from cut marks on bones suggests that Homo Floresiensis ate all these animals, along with plants, with tooth wear indicating a tough, fibrous diet that required lots of forceful chewing. No evidence of fire is found in the cave, indicating they ate their meat raw. Individuals from Liang Bao also show foot, hand, wrist, and jaw traits that look more primitive than those of any human dating to within the past million years. These archaic characteristics bear similarities to some species of Australopithecines. Australopiths represent a more ancient breed of hominins, the family tree to which modern humans, extinct human species, and all our immediate ancestors belong. This might suggest Homo Floresiensis evolved from a very ancient divergence in the hominin family tree, who traveled from Africa and made its way across Asia all the way down to the island of Flores. Yet, Homo Floresiensis also shares characteristics in common with our more recent relative, Homo erectus, one example being the aspects of the skull shape. This puzzling combination of characteristics has fueled an ongoing debate around Homo Floresiensis' place in the story of human evolution. Older fossils found on the island, including a 700,000-year-old jawbone and teeth, may belong to an unknown related hominin population, or from their own direct ancestors. Since Flores has always been an island, the ancestors of Homo Floresiensis likely arrived through seafaring. They may have made boats or rafts to sail along at least 6 miles of treacherous sea to make it to the island. Although this might not have involved intentional travel, but instead accidental rafting on mats of vegetation following a volcanic eruption or earthquake, such as what happened in the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, where some people survived on floating debris for a week or more, traveling about 150 kilometers or 93 miles out to sea. This is even how monkeys made it to South America all the way from Africa. The reason they went extinct is unclear. The last known trace of Homo floresiensis dates to about 50,000 years ago, and the first evidence of Homo sapiens is shortly after, at 46,000 years ago. It's possible they were outcompeted by modern humans as we were growing in number in the area. Additionally, there is evidence a major volcanic eruption occurred on the Indonesian island of Flores around 50,000 years ago, which coincided with the disappearance of Homo floresiensis. The eruption may have caused a pyroclastic flow, which is a cloud of hot gas and rocks that can be devastating. The eruption may have disrupted the ecosystem, making it impossible for Homo floresiensis to survive. This event also coincided with the extinction of stegodons, large carnivorous birds, and other island species. Ultimately, this eruption seems the most likely to have sealed the fate of Homo floresiensis. In 2006, 2 teams attempted to extract DNA from a tooth discovered in 2003, but both teams were unsuccessful. Incredibly, one group that populates Flores Island today, a people called Leo, claims Homo floresiensis are alive and well in isolated sections of their mountainous territory. In their own language, the Leo named these ape men Le Hoa. They describe them as small, in fact, about the same size as Floresiensis, upright walking and hairy. Individual Leo offer credible accounts of Le Hoa they have seen, including eyewitness encounters dating from the 1960s to the present. Although hard to believe, it would be amazing if these hobbits really were still alive today. 2. Homo Luzonensis. Approximately 2,000 miles north of Florence lies the island of Luzon, home to another diminutive human species, Homo Luzonensis. Fossils of this species were unearthed in Calo Cave located in the northern part of Luzon in the Philippines. The timeline of Homo Luzonensis' existence overlaps with that of Homo Floresiensis, with fossils dating between 67,000 and 50,000 years ago. The discoveries include 13 remains, such as 2 hand bones, 3 foot bones, a thigh bone, and 7 teeth, all from at least 3 different individuals. A deer bone discovered in the same sediment layer as the Homo Luzonensis foot shows what appear to be stone tool cut marks, suggesting that this species was capable of making and using tools. In fact, approximately 90% of the animal remains found at the site belong to Philippine deer. If Homo Luzonensis was primarily responsible for bringing these remains to the cave, it suggests they engaged in large-scale, organized hunting of this animal. This preference indicates that Philippine deer may have been their primary target and a crucial component of their diet. Similar to Floresiensis, the features of the remains show an intriguing mix of both modern and ancient aspects. For example, while the teeth look more like those of modern humans, the hands and feet seem to match more closely with the Australopithecines. This raises intriguing questions. Are the ancient humans on Flores and those on Luzon closely related? Or are they separate species that have both succumbed to island dwarfism? Both species had primitive hands and feet and stood under 4 feet tall. Luzonensis likely succumbing to the same island dwarfism rule. One noticeable difference lies in their teeth. Both species had small teeth, but Homo Luzonensis molars were smaller than those of Homo Floresiensis, and it seems Floresiensis had more skeletal robustness. But the limited number of fossils of Luzonensis makes full comparisons challenging. Another intriguing characteristic is the curved finger and toe bones found in Homo Luzonensis. A trait also present in Homo Floresiensis suggests that both were adept at climbing trees as well as walking upright on the ground. But as humans became strict bipeds 2 million years ago, it's possible that this feature arose because Luzonensis and Floresiensis lived on isolated islands densely covered in trees where climbing may have been essential for gathering food or escaping predators. Or simply an evolutionary leftover from a more primitive ancestor. When Homo Luzonensis inhabited Luzon, the island was characterized by a warm, tropical environment dominated by dense rainforests. Montane forests, coastal mangroves, and small bits of grasslands dotted around the island would also have been present. These ecosystems supported a variety of plant species, such as dipterocarps, palms, figs, and conifers, which are prevalent in Southeast Asian tropical forests, providing ample resources for Luzonensis. Like Flores, Luzon was and still is a highly volcanic island with 33 volcanoes. The island was home to a variety of unique and now extinct fauna. Notable species on Luzon during this period included monitor lizards, giant rodents, an extinct bovid, the Philippine warty pig, and Philippine deer. Go back in time 50,000 years ago, and you might imagine a group of Luzonensis moving cautiously through the dense forests, staying alert for encounters with giant venomous lizards, or a hungry family strategizing to take down a lone deer to feed themselves. The presence of humans on Luzon and Flores throughout the region wasn't necessarily as rare or as accidental as once thought. Stone tools discovered on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, dating to between 118,000 and 194,000 years ago, point to an unknown hominin presence. This evidence suggests that these small-brained ancient humans and their ancestors possessed the knowledge and skills to navigate the diverse landscapes of Southeast Asia. They likely had the expertise to manage island crossings and adapt to a wide range of challenging environments. Unfortunately, like most fossils that are found in hot and humid climates, DNA extraction of the remains failed. It is not clear why Homo Luzonensis went extinct. They may have been pushed out by modern humans, although there isn't any evidence as of yet that modern humans were in Luzon during the time they disappeared. It may have been a shift in climate, which became colder and drier 50,000 years ago, which could have impacted the availability of resources like food and water. Additionally, Luzon Island lies in a tectonically active region, prone to volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and typhoons, natural disasters that could have severely disrupted their habitat. It's probable that a combination of these factors contributed to their demise. Furthermore, Luzonensis may have been outcompeted by other highly intelligent modern humans, though not us, but another group of humans that coexisted in the region at the time, which I will now discuss. 3. Denisovans. The Denisovans lived across a wide range of areas and conditions, from the cold mountains of Siberia and Tibet to the jungles of Southeast Asia. They first emerged around 370,000 years ago, and evidence of interbreeding is found in the DNA of modern populations, particularly in people from New Guinea, who inherited Denisovan genetic markers. This suggests that Denisovans survived and interbred with modern humans before going extinct as recently as 25,000 years ago. It's estimated the Denisovans split from the ancestors of modern humans between about 550,000 and 765,000 years ago. They are known from few physical remains. Consequently, most of what is known about them comes from DNA evidence. What are believed to be Denisovan remains include a jawbone discovered in Bashia Karst Cave, Shihe, China, as well as a finger bone, teeth, and a skull fragment unearthed in Denisova Cave in Siberia. Additional fossils attributed to Denisovans have been found in northern and central China, Kyrgyzstan, and Laos. Little is known of the precise anatomical features of the Denisovans since so little physical remains have been discovered. However, a facial reconstruction has been generated by comparing methylation at individual genetic loci associated with facial structure. This analysis suggested that Denisovans, much like Neanderthals, had a long, broad, and projecting face, large nose, sloping forehead, protruding jaw, elongated and flattened skull, and wide chest and hips. A skull known as Shuchang 1, discovered in China, remains a subject of debate regarding which human species it belongs to. Some researchers suggest it may be Denisovan, while others propose it could belong to another species, such as Homo longi. If it is indeed Denisovan, the skull's brain volume of approximately 1,800 cc places it on the higher end compared to Neanderthals and early modern humans, far exceeding the average for present-day humans. However, its exact classification remains uncertain. The Denisovan genome extracted from the remains at Denisova Cave has variants of genes which, in modern humans, are associated with dark skin, brown hair, and brown eyes. Genetic evidence suggests we didn't only just coexist with them, but we interbred with them as well, with a high percentage of their DNA, roughly 5%, occurring in Melanesians, Aboriginal Australians, and Filipino Negritos. This distribution confirms that there were Denisovan populations across Asia, with a lower percentage of DNA or none in other parts of the world. Oddly enough, about 3.3% of the archaic DNA in the modern Icelandic genome descends from the Denisovans, and such a high percentage could indicate a Western Eurasian population of Denisovans which introgressed into Neanderthals or immigrating modern humans. The Denisovan genome has been proven to be beneficial to us today. It contains a variant that in modern-day Tibetians assists with adaptation to low oxygen levels at high elevation, and Inuit populations carry Denisovan genes that help to regulate body fat and maintain warmth. Based on the high percentage of Denisovan DNA in modern Papuans and Australians, Denisovans may have crossed the Wallace Line into these regions, the third known human species to do so, along with earlier Homo Floresiensis and Homo Luzonensis. By this logic, they may have entered the Philippines, living alongside Homo Luzonensis, which, if this is the case, means coexisting between the two species. It's been identified that about 4% of the Denisovan genome derives from an unidentified archaic hominin. Could this be an indicator that the unknown DNA of the Denisovans could be from Homo Luzonensis? This same argument could also be applied to Floresiensis. It would be very interesting if, in the future, we managed to attain the DNA of Luzonensis and Floresiensis to uncover this mystery. It's also worth mentioning the Ayeta Macbucan people of Luzon have the highest known proportion of Denisovan ancestry of any population in the world. The Denisovans of Tibet that inhabited the Bashia Karst Cave seem to have led a sophisticated and cultured lifestyle, extensively processing goat antelopes, cows, deer, horses, and woolly rhinoceros. They were also butchering large carnivores like cave hyenas and snow leopards, marmots, hare, and eagles were also butchered and eaten. A large amount of the bones are believed to come from the Barral, a species of goat which still lives in the Himalayas. What was left of the animals after eating wasn't wasted either. Some of the teeth and bones were used to make items such as retouchers, which are thought to help shape other tools. Meanwhile, the skin was prepared as animal hide. Stone tools crafted using the levalloy technique were discovered in Denisova Cave, a method of tool making that was previously associated only with modern humans and Neanderthals. This technique was more sophisticated than earlier methods of stone tool production. The tools produced could serve multiple purposes, functioning as scrapers, knives, or projectile points. Denisovans were highly intelligent, self-aware human beings. 5 hand and footprint impressions, believed to be made by Denisovan children, were discovered near the Kaesong hot springs in Tibet, making them the oldest evidence of human presence on the Tibetan plateau. These impressions, carefully placed to avoid overlap, may represent the earliest known example of rock art, predating similar hand stencils by over 100,000 years. The exact reason why the Denisovans went extinct is unknown, but there are several possible explanations. One of them is interbreeding with us. Denisovans and Homo sapiens interbred multiple times, and it's possible that the Denisovans were absorbed into the larger human population, which tended toward a loss of Denisovan genes over time. Another is competition. Homo sapiens may have outcompeted the Denisovans for resources when we made it to the area. Modern humans could also have brought deadly diseases with them to the continent, ones that Denisovans were not immune to and that were fatal to their immune systems, similar to how indigenous Americans were decimated by smallpox introduced from Europe. And lastly, could have been climatic events. Their disappearance coincides with the last glacial maximum, a time of extreme cold and environmental changes, and they lost out on major food sources. But as we know they lived from Siberia to Indonesia, it's hard to accept climate change was a major factor in their disappearance, and maybe just one of many. 4. Neanderthals. In 2025, the outdated portrayal of Neanderthals as brutish, dim-witted cavemen with hunchbacks has long been debunked by now. They were builders, toolmakers, sailors, artists, weavers, chefs, and many more. They inhabited Eurasia from the Atlantic regions of Europe eastward to Central Asia, from as far north as present-day England and as far south as the Mediterranean and Southwest Asia. The oldest Neanderthal bones date back as far as 430,000 years ago, and they disappeared around 40,000 years ago, not long after Homo sapiens arrived on the continent from Africa. Neanderthals overlapped across Europe and Asia with modern humans and the Denisovans for several thousand years. Compared to modern humans, Neanderthals had a more robust build and proportionally shorter limbs, averaging 5 feet 5 inches for males and just 5 feet for females. For comparison, the average height of Upper Paleolithic humans was, respectively, 5 feet 9 inches for males and 5 feet 1 for females. To help them survive the cold environments of Europe and Asia, they had developed cold-specific adaptations, such as specialized body fat storage and an enlarged nose to warm air. The Neanderthal LEPR gene, concerned with storing fat and body heat production, is similar to that of the woolly mammoth, and so is likely an adaptation for cold climate. The Neanderthal brain case averages 1,640 cubic centimeters for males and 1,460 cubic centimeters for females, which is significantly larger than the averages for all groups of extant humans. For example, modern European males average 1,362 cubic centimeters and females 1,201 cubic centimeters. The largest Neanderthal brain, Amud 1, was calculated to be 1,736 cubic centimeters, one of the largest ever recorded in hominids. Between 65,000 and 44,000 years ago, in Europe, Asia, and North Africa, interbreeding occurred multiple times between Neanderthals and modern humans. Neanderthal-derived DNA has been found in the genomes of most or possibly all contemporary populations, varying noticeably by region. Various estimates exist for the proportion, such as 1.8 to 4% in modern Eurasians, 1.8 to 2.4% in modern Europeans, and 2.3 to 2.6% in modern East Asians. A 2020 study even detected 0.3 to 0.5% in the genomes of 5 African sample populations, likely the result of Eurasians back migrating and interbreeding with Africans. These particular Neanderthal genes would have been useful for the modern humans arriving in Europe whose immune systems had never encountered the pathogens within Europe and would be vulnerable to them. unlike the Neanderthals who had built up generations of resistance against these diseases. Other Neanderthal DNA that has been studied and proven to influence a number of human traits include skin tone, hair color, hair texture, height, sense of smell, adaptations to high altitude, fertility, pain, mood, psychiatric disorders, sleeping patterns, and even drink and drug addiction. It can even have negative consequences for your health. Neanderthal DNA can influence the risk of developing certain diseases, such as diabetes, lupus, and Crohn's disease. Overall, at least 20% of the Neanderthal genome is still present in modern humans. It is not clear when the line of Neanderthals split from that of modern humans. Studies have produced various times ranging from 550,000 to more than 800,000 years ago. The ancestors of the Neanderthals and the Denisovans later diverged from one another between about 381,000 and 473,000 years ago, leaving them too genetically closer to each other than they are to us. It wasn't just us interbreeding with them. They interbred with each other as well. In fact, as much as 17% of the Denisovan genome from Denisova Cave represents DNA from the local Neanderthal population. Denisova 11 was a first-generation Denisovan Neanderthal hybrid. The fact that such an individual was found may indicate interbreeding between the two was a common occurrence. Neanderthals lived in a high-stress environment with high trauma rates, and about 80% died before the age of 40. In 2022, remains of the first known Neanderthal family, 6 adults and 5 children, were excavated from Chagirskaya Cave in the Altai Mountains of southern Siberia in Russia. The family, which included a father, a daughter, and what appear to be cousins, most likely died together, presumably from starvation. Neanderthals thrived across a vast expanse of Eurasia. Neanderthal populations were adaptable, living in cold steppe environments in England and Siberia to living in warm, temperate woodlands in Italy, Spain, and France about 60,000 years ago. This is where they created incredible hand stencil art, along with vertical and horizontal lines and various shapes, using red pigments in different caves. They favored caves and rock shelters with southern-facing entrances to maximize warmth and light. The last Neanderthals, who lived around 40,000 years ago, inhabited the warm grasslands and woodlands south of the Ebro River in Spain. If they lived elsewhere after this, it has yet to be discovered. A site near Ranis, Germany, shows conclusively that modern humans, Homo Sapiens, had already reached northern Europe 45,000 years ago, proof of overlapping in Europe with Neanderthals for at least 5,000 years. During this time, there really wasn't much difference between how us and the Neanderthals lived. We both lived an advanced, cultured hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Their technology was highly sophisticated. It includes the Mousterian stone tool industry, a style of stone tools that were primarily associated with Neanderthals and early modern humans. It involved preparing a stone core to produce pre-shaped flakes. The industry included a variety of tools such as scrapers for processing animal hides, points for hunting, and notch tools for cutting or gripping. They, too, had the abilities to create fire, build cave hearths to cook food, keep warm, and defend themselves from predators, make adhesive birch bark tar to attach stone tools to wooden handles and spears, craft clothing, weave, go seafaring through the Mediterranean, treat severe injuries, store food, and use various cooking techniques such as roasting, boiling, and smoking, and make use of medicinal plants. Identified compounds from 2 non-nutritional plants, yarrow and chamomile, were found in a sample of Neanderthal dental calculus from the northern Spanish site of El Cedron. Both these plants are bitter-tasting and have little nutritional value, but are well known for their medicinal qualities. It's proposed, indeed, that these plants were selected and ingested deliberately for the purpose of self-medication. One sick Neanderthal chewed the bark of the poplar tree, which contains a chemical related to aspirin. One Neanderthal, Shenadar 1, survived for at least a decade despite a withered arm, damaged leg, and probable blindness in one eye. This shows that Neanderthals were just as compassionate, caring, and loving as we are today. In 1995, archaeologists in Slovenia uncovered what may be a Neanderthal musical instrument, a cave bear femur with spaced holes, known as the Divje flute, named after the cave where it was found. While some believe it to be an early flute, potentially crafted by Neanderthals, others argue the holes could have been created by carnivores chewing the bone, making its origin a topic of ongoing debate. However, the artifact is on prominent public display in the National Museum of Slovenia in Ljubljana as a Neanderthal flute, and if it is true, it would be the world's oldest known musical instrument. A number of examples of symbolic thought and Paleolithic art have been inconclusively attributed to Neanderthals, namely possible ornaments and jewelry made from bird claws and feathers, shells, collections of unusual objects including crystals and fossils, and engravings. At the site of the cave Foradada in Calafell, Spain, a necklace made with eagle talons was unearthed. In 2010, researchers discovered perforated and painted seashells from Neanderthals in the cave of Los Aviones in southeast Spain. The shells were found alongside lumps of red and yellow colorants and shell containers with pigment mixtures. Because of this high level of symbolical and artistic behavior, it's almost certain Neanderthals were capable of speech, possibly even articulate. This is supported not only by symbolic evidence, but also by anatomical findings. A key piece of evidence is the hyoid bone, a small U-shaped bone in the neck that supports the tongue's root. A fossilized Neanderthal hyoid bone has been found to closely resemble that of modern humans in both shape and function, strongly suggesting that they had the physical capability for complex speech. A study published in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution suggests that Neanderthals could hear and produce human speech sounds. Some scientists believe Neanderthals' language may have had similar features to the esoteric languages spoken in small speech communities today. There are several lines of evidence indicating that Neanderthals were capable hunters whose diets were dominated by meat. First is the faunal evidence from various sites, which indicates that they hunted and butchered red deer, horse, goats, bison, woolly rhinoceros, mammoths, elephants, even cave lions. Neanderthals were highly skilled hunters who worked together to bring down their prey. It is estimated that Neanderthals needed between 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day, almost double what modern humans need. This was due to their bigger size, higher metabolic rates, and less efficient thermoregulation. This high caloric demand made meat a crucial part of their diet. Although surprisingly, a study of dental plaque from Neanderthals who lived in northern Spain about 50,000 years ago found that some Neanderthals ate a plant-based diet. They lived in dense forests and ate a diet of pine nuts, moss, and mushrooms, highlighting their remarkable adaptability and ability to utilize a wide range of available resources for sustenance. Given their advanced technologies and deep knowledge of the Eurasian continent, as well as the fact that Neanderthals and modern humans coexisted, it may be likely they taught us a few things, whether it was hunting techniques, cooking methods, or strategies for surviving in a new, unfamiliar environment. Their influence likely helped shape our survival and adaptation in this new world. The extinction of Neanderthals remains a topic of debate among researchers. It's thought that Neanderthals had smaller, more scattered populations, making them vulnerable to extinction from factors like small-scale disasters, disease, or lack of genetic diversity even before humans arrived on the continent. Resource competition with the more numerous Homo sapiens also likely contributed to the Neanderthals' extinction. Modern humans probably had more efficient hunting and gathering techniques, which would have intensified competition for food and other resources. Contact with Homo sapiens might have exposed Neanderthals to new diseases to which they had no immunity, contributing to their decline. Volcanic eruptions such as the Campanian ignimbrite eruption in southern Italy around 39,000 years ago may have contributed to Neanderthal extinction. Ash from this eruption spread as far as Asia, potentially causing drastic environmental changes. No Neanderthal remains are found after this event. However, some researchers believe that Neanderthals didn't fully disappear, but were instead absorbed into the Homo sapiens population over time. This is supported by the fact that many humans today carry Neanderthal genes, a result of interbreeding. Most living people have a Neanderthal genetic legacy, meaning, in a sense, Neanderthals are still with us today. As I was making this video, scientists have identified a potential new member of human species and named it Homo Juluensis. which translates to big head because of its massive cranium capacity of 1,700 cubic centimeters. In comparison, modern humans' cranium capacity is 1,350 cubic centimeters. It is believed they lived from 300,000 years ago until 50,000 years ago. Evidence suggests they hunted wild horses in small groups and made stone tools and possibly processed animal hides for survival. Homo Juluensis is defined by a mix of features found in fossils from sites such as Suchiaiyeo and Xuchang in northern and central China. However, the designation of Homo Juluensis is still under scientific scrutiny. It could be that the fossils actually belong to Homo longi and the Denisovans, two humans that have already been classified. Further research is necessary to confirm its validity and understand its relationship to other human species. The last entry on the list is, of course, our own species, Homo sapiens, the last surviving member of the genus Homo. We evolved in Africa around 315,000 years ago. Today, 8 billion of us inhabit every corner of the globe, from the freezing Arctic to the lush rainforests of South America and even the scorching Saharan desert. But our lives haven't always been about smartphones and watching YouTube in the comfort of a warm home. For most of our history, humans lived as nomadic hunter-gatherers. Life was brutal and unforgiving, much like that of other animals that walk the earth. Our ancestors spent their days foraging for food, gathering firewood and stones for tools, and hunting everything from towering elephants to nimble gazelles, while also trying to avoid becoming prey themselves. What set us apart from other humans, like Neanderthals and Denisovans, was something extraordinary: our ability to form super complex social networks. Homo sapiens lived in larger interconnected groups, enabling us to share knowledge and innovations over vast distances. This exchange of ideas accelerated technological and cultural development. While other humans could hunt and make clothing, we took things further. We crafted sophisticated tools, including long-distance weapons like bows and arrows, and atlatls. We also tailored tightly fitted clothing with sewing needles, something no other human species is known to have done. These innovations gave us a significant edge in hunting and surviving harsh climates. Around 70,000 years ago, the ancestors of all humans left Africa and began spreading across the world. They reached the Levant region soon after, encountering and interbreeding with the Neanderthals. By 65,000 years ago, humans had arrived in Australia, evidenced by artifacts like stone axes and ochre. By 45,000 years ago, we reached Europe, and footprints suggest humans had made it to the Americas by 23,000 years ago. In just 45,000 years, our species had spread to all corners of the Earth, dominating the environment and becoming the planet's apex predator. Around 25,000 to 30,000 years ago, we became the last surviving humans after the Denisovans disappeared. Then, roughly 13,000 years ago, we transitioned from hunting and gathering to producing food. This means the time between the extinction of the Denisovans and the dawn of agriculture is roughly equal to the time from the invention of farming to today. Humans discovered they could control the growth and breeding of plants and animals. This led to farming and herding, transforming natural landscapes locally at first and eventually on a global scale. As we invested more time in food production, we began to settle. Villages became towns, towns grew into cities, and with an abundance of food, our population exploded. This success marked a turning point in the history of life on Earth. Humans have since explored the deepest oceans and the tallest peaks. We've even ventured into space, landing on the moon. Along the way, we built civilizations like Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. We invented writing, constructed monumental architecture like the pyramids of Giza and the Taj Mahal, and preserved knowledge through libraries, universities, and digital archives. More recently, we created the Internet, a tool that allows us to connect with anyone across the globe in seconds, to learn any skill, and share knowledge at the click of a button. From mastering fire to mapping the stars, Homo sapiens has transformed Earth and left an indelible mark on history.